So, what if your dreams aren't just, random noise your brain makes at night? What if there's something more? Today, we're diving into a perspective that sees dreams and visions as a way to receive guidance. Pretty fascinating stuff. Let's get right into it. I mean, you've totally been there, right? You wake up from a dream that was so vivid, so real, that it just sticks with you all day long. It almost feels like it actually happened. And you're left thinking, okay, what in the world was that all about? Well, that very question is at the heart of what we're exploring today. So the source material kicks things off with this really powerful idea from the book of Acts. The quote basically says that dreams and visions aren't supposed to be these super rare, once-in-a-lifetime things. Instead, they're presented as a normal, even expected part of a spiritual journey. And honestly, that one idea, it kind of sets the stage for everything we're about to talk about. Okay, so if we accept that dreams can be significant, the next big question is, where do they even come from? It's a great question, and the source material actually lays out a pretty clear framework to help us understand their potential origins. All right, so according to the text, dreams can come from one of three places. First, there's our own minds, just processing the day's stress, the stuff we're excited about, all that. The second source it mentions is what it calls demonic interference, but it's quick to add that this is something to be rejected, not feared. But it's this third category. That's the one we're really going to focus on today. These are the dreams believed to be sent as direct counsel and instruction. So yeah, let's zoom right in on that. We're talking about dreams that are believed to be sent on purpose, with a message of guidance. So if these dreams are supposed to be a form of guidance, what does that actually look like in practice? Is it just one thing? Well, not at all. The source actually breaks it down into 8 different ways this guidance can show up. And what's so incredible is just how broad this is. I mean, look at the range here. It covers everything from the really personal stuff, like getting some encouragement when you need it, or being taught something new, all the way to the pretty mind-blowing, like revealing things about the future or uncovering secrets. It even includes dreams that are meant to correct us or warn us about something. That's a massive spectrum of communication, all happening while we're asleep. Okay, so we've talked a lot about what can happen when we're asleep, but now let's shift gears a bit and talk about something that's related but totally different: visions. The key thing here, according to the source, is that these happen when you are wide awake. And you know what? The difference is actually super simple. The source boils it all down to one thing: your state of consciousness. If you're asleep, it's a dream. If you're awake, it's a vision. It really is that straightforward. Now, this is cool. The source puts visions into this bigger picture of how guidance works. It lays out 3 main channels. You've got the inner witness, which is all about guidance through what you feel. Then there's the inner voice, which is guidance through what you hear. And that brings us to visions, which, you guessed it, is guidance through what you see. But just like with dreams, visions aren't this one-size-fits-all kind of thing. Nope. The source material actually breaks them down into different types, and it takes us on this journey from the more common experiences all the way to some pretty extraordinary ones. So the first stop on our journey is what the text calls a spiritual vision, and this is described as the most common kind. The key here is that you're not seeing something with your physical eyes. It's more like a picture or even a mini movie playing out in your mind's eye, or what the source calls the eyes of your spirit. A perfect example of this in the text is the story of the Apostle Paul. He has this vision of a man from Macedonia begging him for help. It's not complicated, just a clear, direct image. But the impact is huge. It completely changes his plans, and he and his team immediately head to Macedonia. That's a vision with a very clear purpose. And it's not just ancient stories. The author of our source material shares this really powerful personal experience. After a bit of a health scare, he had a vision. Just a simple picture of a man trying to ride 2 horses at the same time. And bam, he got the message instantly. It was crystal clear. He was being pulled in too many directions and had to let go of one of his big responsibilities. That one single image told him everything he needed to know. Okay, next up is something the text calls a trance. Now this is a bit different. The defining feature here is that you temporarily lose touch with your physical surroundings. It's like the spiritual vision you're seeing becomes your entire reality for that moment. The classic example for this is the story of Peter. The text says he falls into a trance, and in it, he sees this vision of a huge sheet coming down from heaven, filled with all kinds of animals. This single experience was so powerful that it completely flipped his deeply held beliefs on their head and opened the door for him to connect with a whole new group of people he never would have before.
All right, now this is where things get really, really interesting. The next type is called an open vision, and this is the complete opposite of a trance. Instead of checking out of the natural world, the source says you are fully aware of both realms at the exact same time, the spiritual and the natural, overlapping.
So what does that look like? Well, the text points to things like the Transfiguration, where the disciples see Jesus talking with Moses and Elijah, or the story of Cornelius, who sees an angel appear right there in the room with him, giving him instructions. In both situations, they were wide awake, fully conscious, and seeing something spiritual happen right in their normal physical reality. And finally, the source touches on what it describes as the most profound kinds of visions. We're talking about the experiences of people like the prophets Ezekiel and Paul. Visions that involved things like traveling to other places, seeing different times, or even being, as the text puts it, transported in spirit. Really extraordinary stuff. So, wow. After covering this whole spectrum of experiences, from a simple dream to these profound visions, it all leads to a very practical question, right? How can a person actually become more receptive to this kind of guidance? How do you tune in? Well, this source doesn't leave us hanging. It actually boils it down to 3 really simple, practical steps anyone can take. Step 1, just ask before you go to sleep. Simple as that. Step 2, get a journal and write down any dreams or visions you remember. This is huge because they can fade so fast. And step 3, every so often, go back and read your journal. Look for patterns, recurring themes. You might be surprised what you find. When you look at the big picture, the main takeaway from the source isn't about trying to make these things happen. You can't really force it. Instead, it's all about cultivating an attitude. It's about developing a posture of being open, of being attentive, and just paying attention. And really, that brings us to the core idea that the source champions, just being open to guidance. It sounds so simple, right? Be open. But that little word can mean so many different things to different people. So we'll leave you at that to chew on. When it comes down to it, what does being open really look like for you?